Maybe we can add to that since you heard his finish. We were talking about Keandre and the growth this season. Anything that you've noticed about his confidence or the way that he's playing? I mean, where do you feel like he's at in terms of that trajectory right now?
I think the most impressive thing about him is he hasn't been playing the position for a very long time. And he just gets so much better every day. He's one of the first guys out on the ice. He's one of the last guys to leave. He has a really, really good attitude and a really professional approach for a young guy who's just coming into the league. So I don't think it's a surprise that he's getting so much better. It feels like every day and every game, and brings so much to the team and playing such a big role for us. But like Adam said, I think the sky's the limit for him. I don't think he has any idea how good he can be and will be.
I've been asking everyone about Washington. You saw them on opening night, haven't seen them since. So you played 50 games. You're playing the team you played on opening night. It seems like a good time to ask, just for a state of the team. How do you feel like your team has progressed from opening night to this point, and what's left to do?
Well, I think there's been. It's hard to pinpoint one thing because I think we've gotten better in all different areas. I think we're limiting rush chances. Our D zone's gotten a lot better. Obviously, special teams have been shored up and been a big part of that. I think our 5-on-5 game from an offensive standpoint is coming. So, I think it's a night and day difference from where we were at the beginning of the year. And if I was sitting here and telling you otherwise, we probably wouldn't be where we are, and we're in a pretty good position. So. I mean, it's a huge divisional game for us, and we've got a lot of those coming up, so it'll be an exciting, fun home game.
Are you curious to see Washington again? Are you curious to see Pittsburgh and maybe get some sort of measure of yourselves against them at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of strange, right, not having played. We're 50 games in, I haven't seen Pittsburgh once. We've seen Carolina once, Washington once, right? So we've got so many divisional games, and obviously it's so tight at the top of the standings there, and not just from a measuring stick perspective, but obviously they're going to be big games and expect them to be have more of like a playoff feel, right? Every game is important. 2 points are always important, but divisional games are more like 4-point swings. So it's a great opportunity for us to see where we're at and to continue to get better, continue to improve.
So at the All-Star game, there was a shot of you on the bench kind of joking around with Tom Wilson. And I'm wondering, can you be friendly with a guy who is perceived as an enemy by the entire Ranger fan base, who is we know the history with him? What's that dynamic like? Or it's just, hey, he's an NHL player, we're going to be friendly when we're on the same team. What was that dynamic like?
Yeah, I mean, there's a respect and a professionalism away from the game. I think everyone understands that. The minute the pucks drop, obviously things change dramatically. I think on the other side of that token, you've got, I feel like I've played with 1 or 2 guys on every single team now. The minute the pucks drop, you're still friends before the game, still friends after the game, but you're fighting tooth and nail with them during the game. I mean, I grew up with Garnet Hathaway's on Washington. He's one of my best buddies, and that's a guy who does a really good job of putting those things to the side and doing his job. So the minute the pucks drop, the only friends out there are the guys that wearing the same jersey as you, right? So I think that's what being a pro is all about, is being able to respect one another and converse with one another away from the ice, but obviously doing your job and battling incredibly hard and being competitive when you're playing that game.
Chris, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you then, not related to that, but the 2-week break you had, when you come back, can you sense a difference in touch, your touch? Are you catching up after that kind of a break for you?
Yeah, I think the first game there was definitely a little bit of rust, especially in the first period. I think as the game goes on, or went on rather, as a group, as individuals, we found that. certainly been a lot of practice time, and I think it's easier to kind of get back to the flow of things when you're playing more games. So I think we're looking forward to playing more games. We've had a lot of practices, but I think the big thing for us is that we've been able to take five to six, and we all know we haven't capitalized on a lot of the chances that we've had, but I think the process has gotten better for us, and obviously we have incredibly high expectations of ourselves and individuals as a team.
Because when you were young, high school, DC, were you the kind of player that you are now? I mean, there's a lot, you're so good around the net so much, but were you the same player then, or were you more all over the place, skating and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a very different player in high school. It was high school hockey. You know, I was trying to take the puck end to end. And even college, I mean, yeah, I think I'm probably a much different player now than I was then.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
well, so just how do you become the player you are now? Is
Practice.
Just practicing it and finding your niche, right? Just finding what you're best at this level and focusing on it, practicing it?
Yeah. I mean, to play professional hockey, you have to add value, so it's about figuring out things that you can do well and help the team, and then trying to do those as consistently as you can, as often as you can, and putting yourself in position to do those things.
You mentioned at the All-Star game that you had a lot of help from coaches to do that, right? To the detail stuff. I think you mentioned specifically screens, tip-ins, stuff on the net and stuff. Like, who are some of the guys that helped you and to do what?
Not just coaches, players, but especially early on. I mean, I could go through a laundry list of every coach I've had. There's different things that I've taken away from them, but one that jumps out at me is Scott Arnew. That was a guy early on, took me to the side, had me working on those tips, working on some of the net front stuff. Kind of understood that was going to be my role early on, especially on the power play. Going back to college, Greg Brown, who we had here for a bit, then when I got to BC, at the college level, wasn't as much net front as it was like side of the net, goal line, kind of working an overload on the power play, but I think the message was the same, like this is what you're going to be doing at the pro level. In the junior year, they put me on the point on the power play. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the overarching message from most of the coaches that I've had coming up, starting in college.
Did you play baseball?
Yeah.
Is there any similarity facing, a fastball and a slap shot and trying to get the wood on it and stick on it?
So like I wanted to be a baseball player growing up. I was a big Red Sox fan. My parents told me when I was like 2 years old, they were throwing me pine cones in the lawn and I was whacking at them with a wiffle ball bat. So I was obsessed with baseball. Actually, part of the reason I stopped playing was the whole rib thing, because I had that malformed rib. They said eventually something was going to happen. Happened anyways, but so yeah, the hand-eye hitting the baseball was something that I did for a very, very long time. But the similarities, I mean, I was a catcher for a bit. I pitched a lot too, but I kind of played every position. But as a catcher, kind of understanding what the pitchers are going to do. I think seeing your teammates shoot pucks every day, you kind of have a feel for what their puck does, how it comes off the blade. I mean, the goalies will tell you the same thing. You see the shot over and over. You have a better read on it. Keandre's puck has a tendency to rise, maybe tail. Foxy's falls off.
So Foxy's is like a two-seamer. And
Foxy's is sometimes a bit of a splitter. Sometimes it can fall off the table. We were actually joking on the last game of the game before he took one and it rose, which I've never seen him do before. So it surprised me. It would have been a pass ball. Would have gone a second, but yeah, I guess that's where the similarity rises. Just or it comes up is just seeing your teammates' shots over and over in practice and getting kind of comfortable. I mean, it's one of the things that I like to do the minute we have a new defenseman, free agent trade, call up, just see a shot. A lot of times starting behind them and seeing what it does before getting in front, because sometimes it's hard to read initially, but they're kind of getting a feel for what their puck does when they shoot, because everyone's curve is different, everyone's flex is different, their release is different, so.
When you were hitting those pine cones, that was in Boxford?
Yeah.